Noon. Today is the 24th and it's 4 o'clock. INT meeting. So please roll call.
Chairperson Wani Garza.
Here.
Vice Chair Ted Masiacos.
Present.
Alderman John Lash.
Present.
Alderman Brandon Tolliver.
Here.
Alderman Daniel Barreto. 4 present.
Okay. Approval of the minutes, the 25-0207 from Monday, March 10, 25.
So moved.
Second.
Motion moved by Alderman Tolliver, second Alderman John Lesh. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, motion passed 4-0. Public comments?
No, we do not.
Okay. The first item in the agenda is 25-0052, a resolution authorizing Samsara, Inc. to provide telematics services for the city fleet from May 1st, 25 through December 31st, 2025, with 4 optional 1-year extensions.
Good afternoon, Chris Linville, Superintendent of Fleet Operations. Proposing to change our current telematics service to a more efficient real-time service. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Questions, comments? Yes?
When you say more real time, what do you mean?
So the current setup that we have, it updates every 30 seconds on the map, and that's for the newer devices in some of our vehicles. Back when we first implemented them in 2015, some of those devices were even slower. These will be real time, so you can actually watch the vehicles go down the map, so you know right where they're at.
And what is the primary use of these, and how many do we have?
We have currently 279 units. We use them for GPS location, data tracking for fuel, harsh driving events, idle time, diagnostic trouble codes, things like that.
What departments are using these?
So we use them in public works, public facilities, some development services, IT. So this won't affect PD or fire.
No further questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, no questions, no comments?
Just a comment.
Okay.
Just to kind of clarify on that, just from an insurance standpoint, for those who don't know, the telematics process, as an underwriter, when I see telematics on there, it gives us that data information, so we also get big discounts on insurances and things like that. Every company, every municipality, at least every, sophisticated municipality has these things on here, so I don't see a problem with it at all. It's something that we need, and it's something that, benefits us financially as well.
Absolutely. Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion approved, Alderman Tolliver, second Alderman Lash. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is 25-0062, a resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to execute change orders to the contract with electric conduit construction and flat electric and the combined amount of $150,000 for the relocation of existing electrical infrastructure from vaults located under the sidewalk along Broadway from Benton Street to New York Street. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. Ian Wade with the Engineering Division. As was described in the memo, one of the first steps in infilling the under sidewalk vaults along Broadway in anticipation of the roadway reconstruction was to relocate all the existing utilities from out of that vault space and into the building's basements to allow us to infill those vaults. Obviously, the public utilities, we've been doing quite a bit of coordination with Comcast and AT&T and things to get theirs out of there. But the big one was ComEd with electrical services. So what we found in a lot of these vaults is not only are meters and electrical panels located in there, but there's what they call pull boxes, which basically is the location where the electrical is coming in from the street. It comes into these pull boxes inside of these vaults, and then what we found out after doing quite a bit of investigation is that it goes from these boxes to various locations at different addresses, not even just at those vaults, but at different locations that we weren't even aware of the extent of it until we were able to get in there with ComEd and thoroughly evaluate the existing infrastructure and find out the extent of everything that needed to be relocated. which was why the original scope, which as was described in there, we saw about 15 or 16 vaults that we thought we were going to have work in, but once we got ComEd involved and spent tens of hours in those vaults with both these electricians and ComEd, found that it actually ended up being, I believe, 27 locations that were impacted by these pull boxes that did require rework, which is why the scope creeped quite a bit. We had done preliminary plans that were a basis for a bid we did back in at the end of 2023, actually, but we didn't get any bids in response to that just because the plans basically identified what this engineer had seen, but hadn't really evaluated all the electrical stuff to know what worked, what was the extent of what would all need to be done to those. So after spending the time in there, I won't bore you with all the details. If you'd read the memo, you'd see we ended up consolidating it down to 2 contractors because one of the 3 didn't have the scheduling availability. They were actually the ones working on the Public Works facility, and we had them more than full-time out there with all the details of that project. But upon getting adding the other scope back to one of the other 2 contractors, we were able to get final numbers, which came in where we'd originally awarded it at $450,000. After doing all the due diligence and all the legwork that was required to fully get a handle on the scope, we found that it was actually going to be about $562,000 to add these 10 additional addresses that now needed work that we were unaware of before we got in there. So to date, they had not reached the original contract value. They'd only expended about $400,000 today, but with having that handle on the rest now, we knew now was the time to get this in front of you before we went over the original allotted amount. So I guess with that, I'll answer any questions.
So you have idea when they want to start doing this?
So we've been doing the electrical work since last summer. It's been extremely time intensive between coordinating access to these vault spaces through the businesses. And getting, as I mentioned, the public utilities, getting their stuff out of there as well. We probably, I would say we probably have about another month of this electrical work. It timed out okay in the overall flow of the project because we are still waiting on IDOT's approval of the full contract plans, so it hasn't held anything up on the project yet. I know we're still hoping to get this out to bid this spring and get under construction on the main roadway project this summer, but I don't believe we've received anything back from IDOT, so that might be in a little bit of peril, but that'll all play out here over the next few months.
Yeah, because I don't know how long they want to take to change the whole box to in the other place, because some businesses, I think they alarms, especially the jewelry stores and all that.
Absolutely. We've been working closely with all the individual owners, and what we tried to do is we tried to get all of the new infrastructure installed before ComEd came to actually switch it over. So that way, when time comes and ComEd's permitted through IDOT and ready to go with the formal switchover of the actual service, it's literally just a matter of wiring it, pulling the wiring out of the old space and connecting the new infrastructure that will already be there waiting for them. So
Okay, great.
it should result in minimal delays. I would think not more than 3-4 hours per business location.
Okay,
And we'll
great.
be sure to coordinate that and make sure it's at opportune times to not impact their businesses.
Questions, comments? Yes?
So how do we get to this infrastructure if it's now inside the building? Do we have access to it? It's ComEd's stuff, right?
It is,
So,
yeah.
but we're paying to get it installed to move it. I'm just curious, what is our need going to be? Or ComEd's just, if ComEd needs it or the business owner needs ComEd, they, from here on out, what's
Yeah.
the liability and the relationship between the city on it?
Okay, yeah, this really does take us out of the loop, more or less. The reason why we were involved is because a lot of this infrastructure was housed in the public right-of-way.
Right.
But as a result of this, it'll all be moved into the private spaces where then it will be strictly between the individual businesses and ComEd.
Do you mind if I ask just a question off different
Yeah.
topic? But whatever happened on Piney Street, I know that we were talking about adjusting some of the electric there, and and removing that deck, but the deck's still there. I'm just curious whoever got the electric done.
That is still ongoing. We met with ComEd out there not too long ago. I know we've been working through some challenges with the electrical design. There's quite a bit of stuff under there. It is still moving ahead. There were also some challenges with working with the business owners and getting the proper permissions, and they had to sign up for certain things, and so I know that was what delayed it a bit as well, just trying to get all that paperwork in place to get them on board. But it is still moving forward, and we actually did just have a meeting with ComEd out there a few weeks ago. So.
And then just the other part of this project, or Piney, what is our liability since we're paying for this, if any?
So we're actually and obviously I'm not an attorney, but I would think we're actually reducing our liability by taking infrastructure that's owned by a public utility and for the purpose of private businesses and actually getting it out of our public right-of-way and placing it more firmly in their property. So I would say we're probably reducing it by not having things in our property, in our right-of-way any longer after these relocations.
And do we have officially sign anything off and over to them?
I can't speak for that on Piney, but for Broadway, no, because it really, typically on past vault projects, a lot of times the homeowner is responsible for getting that out of our right-of-way, so they're actually kind of getting a good deal on this because it's part of our big project where we've forced the need more or less because it's needed as part of our construction project. So they're grateful in the sense that they're getting new equipment on their private property that was made necessary so that we could free up our space.
And no further questions.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by Alderman Tolliver, second Alderman Lesh. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion pays 4-0. Thank you. Next item is 25-0074, a resolution authorizing the execution of an engineering agreement with Transmap Corporation and the not to exceed amount to $250,000, update the city payment management system and provide a signed inventory.
Good afternoon, Jason Bauer, Department of Public Works. So this is, we've come to you with this before. I think we started doing this in 2010. That was when we first drove all the city streets. And then did it again in 17, and I think again in, 14 and then 21. So we try to do it about every 5 years. When during COVID, we had to push it off. It was one of the expenses that we decided wasn't, totally necessary. So we kind of pushed that one off a year. But essentially, it's equipment. You don't really know that they're even there. They're driving an equipment or a van down the roadway. It's picking up all the surface imperfections so that we can give each road a unique PCI, a pavement condition index. And then we use that along with the paver software to come up with the annual resurfacing plan that fits within the different spending limits that the ordinance states. And I think it was the last time that they drove them was the first time we did the alleys. So we've added alleys as a component. Something that we want to add this year is the sign inventory. We're federally mandated to test all the retroreflectivity of all of our signs to make sure that they're working correctly and that when someone's headlights shine on them that they're actually able to read the messages. So with this data, we can pinpoint and get a GPS location for every single sign, and that's the first step so that Tim Forbes and Adrian and the guys from Streets can get out there and actually test the signs and make sure that everything is up to snuff. So we went out for an RFP. So as a part of that RFP process, we ask for the qualifications, the type of equipment that they use, and then there's a smaller component that also includes price. Everybody being able to bring it down to a PCI, which is it's a standard term. It's a standard rating system from 0 to 100. So we know that being able to get there is important, but if somebody can do it at a significantly better price, we wanted to make sure that that was reflected. So Transmap, this is their second year getting it. They were the successful firm in 2021. We're very happy with the results, and it really does help us come up with those annual programs to set the resurfacing. And we're looking forward to working with them again. And this one does have some renewal opportunities if everything is working out well for both sides, and there's no new technology that comes about or something like that we would want to go out for another RFP.
Questions, comments?
None. Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Alderman Tolliver. Who's second?
I might have questions offline, but I'll second it.
Okay. Second by Alderman Lash. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0. Thank you. Next item is a resolution for the acceptance of bid pricing from contractors to moving landscape maintenance for several city departments, bid 25-013, for a 1-year contract with 3 optional 1-year extension upon mutual consent.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is something we come in about every 3 years. We'll come in, we'll ask to, we get pricing for our contractors to come in and do the mowing that we can't. We've supplemented with outside contractors almost my whole career, so it's been quite a long time. It's just not feasible for us to try and do it with all our city staff. So we did go out for pricing. We had 11 companies bid on it. We took the 3 that had the lowest, and that'll help out streets, water and sewer. Anybody who has mowing contracts other than the parks falls pretty much on this, and downtown services.
Questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Alderman Ted Misiacos.
Second.
Second, Alderman John Lash. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next item is 25-0223, a resolution to award the High Street and Percy Street intersection water main improvements located in Ward 1 to Superior Excavating Company, and the bid amount of $63,487.00.
Good afternoon, John Hoffman with Engineering Division. This is the second phase of a 2-phase project in which an area was identified that had some water quality issues and also some capacity issues. So previously, we upsized a portion of Root Street up from 4-inch to 8-inch water main, and then we also extended water main down Reesing Street. So this second phase is going to be all contained within High Street and Pierce Street intersection. So we're going to be doing some valve modifications, some connections, disconnections, in order to, that'll complete the portion to eliminate the dead end. So, so with that, we went out to bid in February. Open bids this month. We had 8 responsive bidders. Superior Excavating was the low bidder. We've worked with them in the past and have been happy with their work. So if there's any questions.
Questions, comments? Yes?
So pretty much, they've already done the work on the main streets, and this is just now addressing the work that needs to be done in the intersection?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, why didn't they do it the last time?
I think this was kind of
Sorry.
good
I didn't mean to stump you.
Yeah, in this particular intersection, there's piping for the high pressure zone and the low pressure zone, and we don't need an interconnect there, so we're going to eliminate that as a part of this. So just something that we realized as we were doing that first project. We couldn't do it at that time because it needed its own separate EPA permit. So you're only allowed to install a certain amount of footage as a part of a project before you need a permit. So we couldn't just add it. And it was too late in the year to get to it at that point in time. So Kurt and John did the design and got the permit so we could get out there and do it this year.
All right, and did they replace the lead in this section of town when they did the streets section?
Oh yeah, definitely.
did?
Yeah,
Okay, I would
we've been replacing the lead on these projects since 2018. Any new water main project, we've been replacing the lead services. If they exist there. There's some water mains we do where it's already copper, but if it's lead, yeah, we replace them.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by John Lash.
Second.
Second, Alderman Tolliver. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0. Next item is 25-0228, a resolution to award the Elmwood Drive Water Main Replacement Project located on Ward 6 to Winier Excavating, Inc., and the bid amount of $933,465.00.
John Hoffman again with Engineering Division. So this is a long block of Elmwood from New Haven to Colorado, about 1,500 feet of water main replacement. It's kind of our typical high priority section where we've had 10 breaks since 2012, 6 of which have been in the last 2 years. Being a high priority replacement, we wanted to get it out to bid early in the year. So we were out to bid in February. We've had 7 responsive bids. Winiger was the low bidder. They haven't done any work in Aurora, but we have engineering staff that have worked with them, had previous consultant experience, then they had good things to say about them. But with that, any questions?
Questions, comments?
Motion to approve?
Motion approved, Alderman John Lash.
Second.
Second, Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0. Thank you. Next item is 25-0229, a resolution to award the Dry Works Court Water Main Replacement Project located in Ward 3 to Brandt Excavating, Inc. in the bid amount of $672,157.00.
John Hoffman again with engineering. This project is 3 blocks of 2 blocks on Dayward's Court that's being replaced from Fifth Avenue to the north dead end, and also on Harriet from Dayward's Court to Ohio. It's about 1,200 feet of 8-inch water main replacement. We're also eliminating the rear yard loop from the north end of Dayward's Court to the rear yards. So we did have a water main break there in 2022, so this is trying to help clean that up. And also, as usual, a history of water main breaks out there. Again, we went out to bid in February, opened in March, 8 responsive bidders, with Brandt Excavating being the low bidder, who we worked with a lot in the past and have been happy with their work.
Questions, comments?
Madam Chair, yes.
Yes,
Do you have
okay.
the attachments with you you can share with us?
I do.
That'd be wonderful. And you don't have to wait till the addendum item starts to hand them out if you had them. Appreciate it, though.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Okay.
I assume these will be uploaded by the
Yeah,
county.
yeah,
Okay.
they should be on there. I'm not sure. They're not
Just
on
the
there on your end?
registration text.
Okay.
So how many bids they make in this? 8 bids?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Who bid?
8.
It's 1,200 feet of water main.
No, no, no.
How many bidders?
How many
Oh, I'm
bidders?
sorry, sorry, 8 bidders.
8 bidders, okay. Yeah. Have questions?
No, just, I want to have something before you start your presentation. That's why I asked for it.
Okay. Apologize for that. Not sure what happened there.
Just a quick question. At the impact statement, it says with lifted parking restrictions as required. What type of parking restrictions are in this area?
So usually we'll have like no parking, like on maybe one side of the
Actual
road
car.
where the water main's going during construction.
Motion to approve?
Madam
Yes.
Chair,
What question?
what's our present policy? I know it's a boilerplate question, but notifying the residents and the contractors working with the residents. in order
So
to
we
get this
typically,
worked out.
actually after INT, we'll hand out construction notifications. They're usually attached to the door, letting them know of the approximate timeframe of construction, who the contractor is, who to contact if they have any questions during construction or before construction.
What's the time frame?
Like
There's
generally.
a school close by. Because East High is right by there, that's why I'm asking, what's the time frame? It's close by.
Okay. So I know the contractor's eager to get started on this. as soon as we get through council and get contracting approved, I would assume we can get out there in April, maybe towards the end of April. If we need to coordinate with the schools and push it back later, I'm sure that's something we could
I think
work out.
that would help out a lot, traffic through there, and plus they have certain days that they have late start as well, so it's not consistent start date, or start time, I should say, as well, every day of the week. So I
Okay.
highly recommend that,
Okay.
for sanity of the parents too, like drop off and pick up in addition to the school district. I think the school district does a lot of the traffic direction and calming
Okay.
out in the streets.
Yeah, fortunately, like the connections at Ohio are off to the east side of the intersection, and hopefully we're not, obstructing that intersection too much at Ohio.
Yeah, there's backups, that's why. I mean, it's not right by the school, but there's always backups, and if you're having trucks and whatnot, machinery coming through.
Okay.
And that's also a tight spot. That's a tight little street.
Okay, yeah,
As
we'll
well.
talk to the contractor
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so how's parking gonna affect the residents? For how long? How long can they anticipate to be just,
I think
have a
this
disruption?
this should be a fairly quick project, probably a month or so at the max, I would say.
And is that gonna be part of the information provided to the residents?
Correct,
And
yeah.
are we gonna give them that information with enough time to plan, or are we just gonna show up 48 hours beforehand, or the
No,
contractor?
yeah, so like typically we will hand these flyers out this week would be the plan.
Okay,
Letting
And
them know
that's-
that pending, city council approval, this project will be starting in April or May or whatnot.
and we're gonna have those sticks in the ground, probably no parking?
Correct, yeah, the contractor's required
Okay.
to put those up ahead of
Okay,
time.
all right, well, thank you so much.
Okay,
Second.
okay, who made the motion? No, motion made by Alderman Tolliver, second Alderman John Lash. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed, 3-0.
Thank you.
4-0, thank you. Next item is 25-0230, a resolution authorizing director of purchasing to execute an agreement with Engineering, Inc. and the amount of $123,285.00 to provide safety consulting services to the Department of Public Works.
Good afternoon, Jason Bauer, Department of Public Works. This one, back in 2018, Water Production Division did an RFQ because they had certain things that they wanted to have inspected at the plant. They have confined space entry requirements, they've got lockout, tagout requirements. A lot of these things are across the entire board for Public Works. So this started with, again, water production. They went through what's called a gap analysis, where this company, Hygieneering, Hygieneering's the firm that got their RFQ when they went out for that in 2018. They come in and they basically assess everything. They look at your materials safety data sheets. They look at your hazardous communication plan. They look at your standard procedures for saw cutting, trench safety, confined space, the laundry list that goes on and on and on. And a lot of these things, we can use some of the stuff that's been done for water production, but we felt that it was a good time now moving into the new facility. So we started the gap analysis process for Public Works last year. So that's done. So we've got the entire list of things that they want us to change or to improve upon or to institute just a brand new policy for various different things. So we've got all that down now, and we want to start knocking those things off just like they're doing at water production. So water production started, like I said, 2018. Here we are 7 years later. They still are doing incremental things because, as you know, some of the things higher priority, some of them are higher cost. So obviously immediate safety ones, they're prioritizing those and working their way through them. Some of the other ones are more expensive. So we don't think we're going to have as much in terms of the facility, but we do know that we want to get those standard practices, a bullet point, step by step. This is how you do it. This is how you do it safely. This is what you need to do to check your harness every single day before you get in your bucket truck. All these things, we have them, but it's just stuff that's been assembled over the course of however many decades, and we want to make sure that it's got a new fresh set of eyes on it to make sure that, not just that the city's protected, but that these people that are actually doing the work are learning from the people who know how to develop these programs. And again, just a new set of eyes on it to make sure that everything's up to snuff.
Comments, questions? Yes?
Insurance.
Yeah, I mean, as an underwriter, I'm smiling ear to ear. Like, I love to see stuff like this. I mean, kind of my little punch list when I'm looking at any type of new submission or new account, I'm seeing what type of safety program they have, if they have safety managers, if it's third party, whatever the case may be. As you already stated, this is really going to reduce, obviously, the premiums that we have, as well as, more importantly, the risk that the actual workers have at these locations itself, which would obviously cut down on any type of worker comp claims or anything like that, trips, falls, slips, all of those things of that nature. So just from an insurance standpoint, it's definitely necessary, definitely needed. So I would say motion to approve, pending any other questions.
Okay. Questions? No?
Second.
Okay, Alderman Tolliver passed his motion. Second, Alderman John Lesh. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed 4-0. Thank you. Okay. 25-0231, a resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to execute contract with Hitchcock Design Group to provide design services for Millennium Plaza in the amount of $218,300.
Good afternoon. So this one this was budgeted for construction in 2024. We didn't rebudget it for this year. The only thing we did was carry over what we anticipated for doing the design. The original construction of the park was back in right around 2000, Millennium Plaza, and it's currently underutilized. They do some concerts there, but it's a very small park, and it could be laid out a lot better to make it a more useful space. We did reach out to Aurora downtown, and we've had meetings with the neighbors and the various groups to say, have input. This is what we'd like to see here. We do still want a concert area, but we've got nowhere to walk our dogs downtown. There's not a lot of places to sit and have a sandwich by the river. So we did that outreach. We finished that process last year. And then for this year, just knowing that it was going to be a pretty massive project, figured we needed the bulk of this year to actually do the ultimate design, which is what Hitchcock is going to do. I did include the rendering that they came up with. We were all very happy with it, and we think it's going to be a great improvement for the downtown. There's not a lot of spaces like that in the downtown. So if we can make this one more useful, I think it'll go a long way. I think people would like to use the space more once this project is done. So again, we did do an RFQ when we selected Hitchcock the first time around. The results of that are attached, and any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Questions, comments? Yes?
So it's construction in 2026. Is River Edge going to be completed by then? What I'm thinking is we'll probably have some entertainment downtown this summer, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Not the same as River Edge,
Yeah.
but
Correct.
this isn't going to impact that at all. And before we shut this down for construction, will we be done out there?
Yeah, so right now, and that's a great point, if for some reason we hit some major snags with River Edge Park, we can always get this ready and it'll be sitting there on the shelf ready to bid. But right now, the game plan is to have the park basically put back together by Kindle Market. So when I say basically put back together, it's getting the Ped Bridge back open, having the shells of the buildings done, having the hardscape in so that we've got the expanded areas for the vendors for Kindle and all the additional electric throughout the park for supporting the Kindle Market. So they'll still then continue working on the insides of those buildings probably until the early spring, but as of right now, yeah, the game plan is to be back up and running for the concert season next year.
And
Right.
my only other question is, was there any strong opposition at all? I mean, I would assume people would want to keep it, like you said. I was just curious if there was any.
Yeah, excitement more than anything
Okay,
else.
good.
Yeah, like all the restaurants up and down the block and the apartment complexes. I mean, they want a space that's more functional for them, and they were all excited about the opportunity.
Yeah, now look like they're going to be more visible from the street.
Yeah,
Before,
definitely.
a lot of people did not even notice it's in
Yeah,
there. So this is
Lots
great.
Lots of ramps, lots of stairs,
Yes,
so
yes.
just giving it an overhaul, I think will,
Very nice.
yeah, it'll be very, very nice.
Questions? Yes?
Comment. So my very first apartment after I graduated college was actually in the Graham Building, and I literally never ever went in this park before because it was just, I mean, kind of for what. So obviously I haven't lived there in years, but it's exciting to see that something's going to happen over there because that was a big thing when I lived there. That we wish it was more like usable for things like that. So
Right.
I think it's exciting. I'm sure they're going to be excited about it too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just on the design side, that rough sketch of the part that goes over the river, that looks expensive is the first word that came to mind.
Yeah,
I'm
and
just-
again, that's just the phase one renderings. We'll see what comes out of the phase two. Yeah, I mean, if there's something like that just really blows the budget, then maybe there's other ways we look at doing that. But that was another one of the things people were excited about, was trying to get that park to interface more with the river, because it really doesn't right now. So that was one of the thoughts. So that was what they came up with the rendering. This is, phase one, so once we
It
get
looks-
into the
it looks
nitty-gritty-
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it looks
it-
great.
yeah.
But yeah, once you actually get into it, some of those things
The
might
engineering
change.
side of it looks expensive.
It does, yeah. So,
Do we have a budget or estimated budget that we put in?
so the budget they came up with as a part of that phase one was right around 2 million. So once we get into it and we see all the different pieces, then we'll know a little bit more.
And then what about that big iconic concrete pillar that was part of the Millennium Celebration? I don't know that has any historic value to the city or not.
No, yeah, so that actually came up, we did ask around as a part of, does anybody want this for anything else? So as of right now, the plan is it's gonna go away, whether it gets donated to somewhere else, or, I mean, if we can find a use for it, maybe, but it's definitely, it's coming down, it's just where it goes after that would be the question.
Not the most aesthetic piece, but no further questions, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Alderman Tolliver.
Second.
Second, Alderman John Lesh. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0. And the last item is 25-0232, a resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to renew the professional service agreement with Olea Network, Inc. for large water meter sensor and analytical services.
Hello, committee. My name is Brian Cademy with the Engineering Division. So this contract originally came in mid-2023. This was to put 109 water meter sensors on our 4- and 6-inch meters throughout the city. These monitor flow and maintenance conditions on a semi-real-time basis. That means we'll get it for real time for about 1 week each month, so that way we're not chewing up too much battery. And then we combine those results into actionable maintenance items going through. So that contract came all the way up until March 2025. We are looking to renew that at funding at similar levels. The last contract was $285,000. This one will be about $275,940. We're able to add another 32 sensors due to cost savings with the telemetry already being put out into the system and training from our own staff. So we're looking to take those extra 32 sensors, add it to our new 8-inch meter that we've got installed out in the system, and then 31 of our largest 3-inch meters to capture the rest of our industrial base for our largest users. We haven't got any cost savings for this because there was a lot of maintenance information coming in, but the software did identify a lot of issues that were not previously being captured by our current metering software. So we've had 39 issues out of those 109 meters were found uniquely by Olea, and 15 of those were rated as high priority for replacement. Some of the other successes we found is we found upcoming meter maintenance work that needed to be conducted at some of the schools. So we're able to work in conjunction with the Water and Sewer Department and plan those maintenance activities for the winter break for the schools, so that way we didn't see any downtime for water usage for the schools, and we were able to get in there without any trouble. So we're looking to continue that program for at least 1 year with an optional second year if everything's going well.
Questions, comments? Yes?
So I know it's been said since I've been on the council that we're losing roughly a third of our water, or either to a metering issue or a leakage issue. You said we found 39 of 109. What was the issues that we discovered, and how far along are we in discovering or remediating the problem as a whole?
Yeah, so I'd say one of the largest issues with a lot of these users is they're very large. Like one of them is the data center. It's not something we can easily get in there and replace it right away. So that's kind of been one of the benefits of this program is as we're seeing this, we can at least start getting those schedules on the books, work with the companies to avoid, any major shutdowns and work with them to shut down when most likely. Some of it comes in on, it kind of depends on the issue. Usually we call it a high priority issue if it's a register issue or some kind of mechanical failure that we're not reading correctly, water's coming through. So those are rated as high priority. Other times we're seeing, because they're dual chambers, so we'll have low flow and high flow. Sometimes we see crossover, so we'll be getting accurately reading the low flow, but not necessarily high flow or vice versa. So those can be low to medium issues. So we're just not recording as much water usage as they're actually having. But the high ones are typically like mechanical or register failures. We're no longer recording water. Is that your question? Sorry if you had.
Well, I guess I don't get a sense that we're farther along in diagnosing the problem.
If you're talking for the total water loss.
Right.
Yeah, so the most recent AWWA audit that we did, we put it at about 26 to 27%. Actually contribute a lot of those efforts to the water billing department. There were some just kind of general data errors, not necessarily actual loss out in the system. So water loss can be actual physical loss within the system or data consumption errors. We're thinking that a lot of that going down from 1/3 down to the 27% was a lot of data consumption errors. We have been doing a lot of infrastructure work, but it's a lot more, we're accurately telling our census metering system, what actually we need to be reading, are our dials reading correctly, and so on and so forth. So they've been doing a lot of work getting in, finding where dials are misaccurately reading and getting those corrected. This we're trying to focus on, it's not as much, our largest water users use between 8 and 10% of our total water usage, so we're not tackling a huge problem, but we have about 50 to 51,000 meters, and so we're trying to tackle the largest meters because even if it's a small portion, they're using an outsized amount. Our 6-inch meters, I think, let me look, I have it here. Our 6-inch meters average 3.9 million gallons a year, and our 4-inch meters average 1.8 million gallons a year. So we're hoping by tackling these, we're able to start chipping away at what the problems are. So it's like, all right, this program's allowing us to get our maintenance, and once that's set, then we can start looking for where else in the system we might be having water loss. So it's kind of a multifaceted approach.
And with the data center, what was the issue there? You said getting in to do what? To check the meter?
So it's not so much checking the meter. It's more so getting in to actually do any kind of maintenance work with the meter because they need continuous water flowing through. We actually always get alarms for it. It's like continuous flow. It's like, yeah, they need continuous flow. But any kind of, we wouldn't be shutting down, but we wouldn't be reading for that amount of time. So we have to coordinate with them to try to get in, replace the meter as quickly as possible and go forward. The data center, I believe, has 2 feeds, so we switch off their larger feed and go to a smaller feed from there. But with a lot of like manufacturing or the data center, it's something we have to kind of pre-schedule if there's an issue. So that way, they can get their maintenance staff in. If there is going to be interruptions with water shutoffs, we're accurately accounting for that.
No further questions? One more. How much longer do you think we'll need to have this monitoring in place?
So that's, we're kind of pushing it on for 2 years. We're hoping for at least those, or probably for those 2 years. The nice thing about this is it's giving us a ton of maintenance information that we're hoping we can build a maintenance plan and then carry that forward, and so then we can kind of take these meters out and then go on to more manual testing. So manual testing is a little bit more labor intensive, but we're hoping we can do a lot less of it once we have an idea for failure rates of these meters. So my hope is, for 2 more years. If anything, if we do continue it longer than that, I imagine we do it for a much smaller subset, probably just our largest core industrial users.
And are you seeing any other anecdotal data that goes with it? So, for example, if you have a problem in an area, you're also seeing a lot of water main repair jobs in that same area?
Not so
N-
much.
nothing that
Yeah,
correlates.
typically those would be kind of separate issues. We don't have anything with, there'd be a water main issue that normally attribute like via like a pressure spike or pressure loss. And we haven't seen anything that these don't capture pressure data.
All right, now no further questions.
Okay. Yes.
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by Alderman Tolliver,
Second?
second Alderman John Lash. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. Motion passed 4-0. And we don't have no more items.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion
Second.
adjourn the meeting by Tolliver, second John Lash. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn the meeting at 4:46 p.m. Thank you.